Welcome to the Love Story Behind, the show about transforming your heartbreak into creative expression, one artist-inspired journal entry at a time. I'm your host, Mingjie Zhai, founding producer of thelovestory.org, the journaling hub for you to transform your life tragedy into a love story. Our message in Heartbreak is, you are not alone. There is nothing wrong with you. There is a point to your pain. On today's episode, Zhai, the love story behind Into the Light. We interview Zhai at Love Earth Retreat in Topanga, California, about the power of music's ability to tell deeper truths and communicate across different languages. He also shares of his life passion to leverage his music to move the needle towards more love by bringing to light the reality of our times. In the second part of this podcast episode, we'll be reading excerpts of journal entries written by our organization's journal artists, inspired by the very interview you are about to listen to. You can find both Zhai's full interview and all the Zhai inspired journal entries at www.thelovestory.org. You can find Zhai's creative expressions, including and especially his music, at samjmusic.com. Links below. Your role as a journal artist is to listen for the similarities. If anything resonates with you throughout the interview, your task is to pause this podcast, pull the quote Zhai said directly into your diary, and begin journaling uninterrupted for 15 minutes or more from that space. Ready to listen, reflect, and write, my kindred journal artists? Let's begin. What inspired you to make music?
Initially, the first kind of desire that I felt to write music, if that's the right word, motivation came from being in a world that I would see unjust things happening, and that kind of really fueled me to, put that into a composition and relate to other people, and almost searching to see if anyone else is concerned about these issues. Be like, does anyone else see this? Does anyone else feel this heartache for, exploitation of children? And I was pretty well educated. I have 3 sisters that are all very, conscious about the planet. And the processes that happen, both from a philosophical perspective, and also, just from real experience, reality of, from their trips away from home, they would come back with these stories and, real life stories of people and what was happening. I always felt that. So one of those things was with nature, would be, just the unjust way that nature is so exploited, and it always feels kind of like the innocent part of the, humans' kind of messy ways of doing things, So that was one way that I felt, I think initially it was kind of all about that. I had a band called Celestial Park, the celestial being, the universe and the space, and as if a park on Earth is kind of like the Earth in space, it's like a park, so Celestial Park. And it was all about world issues, and we were 16, 17 years old, and I was just an MC at that point, and we would just write lyrics for days on end about all these, fat cats laughing on the west side, in the east another newborn baby dies, and we were just, that was where we were coming from. But essentially that was still all about love, you know, or a lack of love. So just didn't recognize it as that at that point, you know. But that was basically, you asked me where I started writing. That was the initial kind of mission.
So I hear that since you were a child, you've been very intuitive, very empathetic, and empath. You know, people that surround your life, you just kind of absorb the energy, right? And so from that experience, at what point did you discover your music to transform parts of that pain that you felt?
Yeah, I mean, that's when it becomes really potent, isn't it? You know, because the truth is interesting, you know. So I don't remember the exact point, but I definitely I was 19 years old when I went completely, just threw myself into the unknown. And when you throw yourself into the unknown, you learn to stand on your own 2 feet, you know, because you haven't got anyone else around to do those things. So there's a really beautiful kind of dichotomy, if you like, about that, with just not a dichotomy, sorry, hold on. There's a really beautiful symphony with having an experience that forces you to be, you know, it's can be so raw and so difficult to go through, but ultimately forces you to find the hero in you, you know. And that comes from being alone. Like, you find a friend in yourself, you know. If you are traveling and you've got no one else, you discover, you know, the light in you to kind of guide your own way, you know. So definitely music from my own pain, for that sense of loneliness that I would discover at times. And then you learn that you're never actually alone. And then a lot of my music was writing about, you know, this colourful vibration that will always accompany you, which is this greater goodness in life that I believe in, that is in you, it's in all beings, it's in all of us. And that colourful vibration is also like the will of life wanting to survive. And I felt like that, just that energy force, call it spirit, call it what you will, became a big inspiration for my music too.
So at 19 you left.
Yeah, I went around the world at 19. Yeah,
wow.
for 2 years straight. Just.
Where did you go?
I mean, I was very fortunate. You know, I was able to travel through the work that I was doing at the time, and really discovered the true power of my music. That those 2 years, I think, I would have discovered it, but it may have taken longer because I was forced to survive. You know, you've grown up in the societies that we were privileged enough to have. You know, you have life guides, you have people that care about you, you have, you know, and although you can go through, you know, it can be inspired by your realities wherever you are in the world, you know, but there was just something really mystical about this travels that I was exposed to, and it really made me a great communicator with all the people that I met on the journey. So I was in Japan, you know, and music was the only real way I could talk to people, you know, like there was no other language. And I just like would notice that if I had a guitar with me, like it was like an instant kind of like access to like whoever I would be with, and that included like a lady and her family, like, and her husband that I met in Japan. We could not understand a word of our dialects between us, but you just play like One Love by Bob Marley and they recognize that song.
Do you also believe that music is a language of love?
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely it is, yeah.
Have you connected and in your personal life fell in love from music?
Yeah, I mean, I've written so many songs, you know, in my lifetime, and it's like as I backtrack like through the catalog, it's just like, of course, you know what I mean. Whatever's filling your heart,
Yeah.
is gonna fill your music. So if there's a love loss,
yeah,
that's, you know, that's present in your heart, that's gonna be fully present in your music. That's not the only thing that I feel like has affected my heart, you know, over the years is like my personal relationships. But yeah, of course, I mean, from a love loss, like a greater understanding remains. So ultimately, in that perspective, there's nothing lost, but the music becomes the salvation, the music becomes the savior. You know, when shit is really difficult, you know, music will rescue me, and music rescues so many of us in that way, because it's a salvation, it's a way of understanding these inevitable processes of loss, so that we can understand the benefits of the loss, you know, that it gives us thicker skin, basically, and it makes us more aware for the next situation that presents itself in our lives.
Did you find a special resonance, something that directly speaks to you, something you have personally experienced, a kindred truth? We'll be playing 2 songs from Samuel J's album, Into the Light, Forgive and Angel Song. Utilize this time to reflect and begin journaling.
For us, don't hold me in fear. the love. Hey, now that's all around. Up high, down low, it's buried in the ground. For that same love, yeah. A seed once invested in you. And that same love, oh, a seed once planted in you. Oh, come now, angels, fly down. Come now, fly back down. Now up high and down low. Come back to the ground. Need you here. The truth. The truth now that's all around. Up high and down low, buried in the ground. And that same truth, yeah, a seed once planted in you. And that same truth, hey, seed once invested in you. Oh, come now, angels, fly down. Come now, fly back down. Yeah. Come back home. From up high, down low. Come back to our ground now. Need you here. Those angels that you see are the angels in you, are the angel in me, flying back round in time. And nothing ever really dies, and nothing ever really dies. Shape-shifting with time.
Same seed planted in us once as a light, and through our very suffering, the loss and the pain, always a great blessing will remain. We're thrown by the oceans and moved by the tides, but it's we who hold the power, create our own lives. Power in us, and follow this truth. All paths help you find now the angel in you.
See these angels flying down. Watch them as they fly down. Coming home, up high, down low. Hey, they're coming back home. Hey, with time. And those angels that you see are the angels in you, are the angels in me. And stay close to the light, for you might just find there's an angel in your life, yeah. Coming back round in time in you.
Our first journal entry is called Home, written by Franke.
Everyone relates to that desire to be back in that person's arms because you have a sense of identity of home with that person. Samuel J. inspired. Home, fiction based on a true heartbreak. You were my home. I had so many failures of the heart that I thought eventually, no matter how many times I tried, I would never find someone like the person I had imagined. And in my dreams, that perfect night would hold me, and I would feel like I was safe from everything that wanted to harm me. He would be strong enough to fight off the demons in my head and the spiders in my bathtub. And when I met you, I wasn't looking to fall in love. I wanted to be casual and just meet someone new, but when I felt your arm around me and I saw your smile, and you looked at me with your eyes, that perfect lagoon that I could drown in if I weren't careful, I knew I was a goner. Whenever I was getting ready to see you, my heart would race in my chest, and my stomach was churning in knots, and my hands would shake. No matter how hard I tried, I could never calm myself down. No matter how many dates we went on, I could expect the same feelings every time. This had never happened to me before, and I knew it was because I liked you. I liked you too much. I loved you. And I reference my feelings in the past as if they're not still ever present in my life. The truth is that these feelings still take a hold of me, although I suppose they are different now. My stomach no longer feels like butterflies, but now there's a heaviness that can only be described as pain. There's a nagging in my chest that feels as though a piece of my heart has been ripped out and now lies in your palm. What hurts me the most is that I know, deep down, you're going to find someone else, and you'll love her more than you cared for me, and I'll have to stand there and watch you with her and hear you talk about her and act like I'm happy about it, because there will always be the feelings in my head, wondering what could have happened if we had chosen to stick it out. And I couldn't say any of this to you because I know that this is for the best. I know. And I can only hope that you'll miss me as much as I miss you. You said you were hurt, but you got right back up on the horse. And I can only hope desperately that it's because you're trying to move on. And maybe racing your steed out west is the only way you can do that. But more than anything, I want to hold you again. I want to forget about the voice in my head telling me that this is for the best. That to continue seeing each other would only hurt me later when you leave. But the irrational part of my brain longs to look in your deep blue and act like nothing ever happened. And I know that if tomorrow you were to tell me you loved me, that just because you're leaving doesn't mean that your feelings have changed. That I would run to you without another thought and kiss you like I'd never get another chance. But it'd all be a dream. A big deluded dream where our romance turned out like every movie I grew up swooning to. I would wait for you for 8 months and you'd come back like nothing ever changed. We would still be us without another doubt that just because you're gone doesn't mean you ever really left.
Our second journal entry is called Letting Go, also written by Franke.
We have to love with all our heart, and that whole expression that your heart is with someone else. And that's beautiful and romantic. But a little bit of your heart has to be with you. Otherwise, how are you going to love yourself? Samuel J. inspired. Letting Go. Fiction based on a true healing. Letting go. That's what it's all about, right? Once you leave someone, letting go is what you have to get to. And that, by far, is the hardest thing to do. Harder than I would have ever imagined. And letting go is something I can't do if I keep thinking about you. So, however much it pains me, I have to cut you off. I have to tell myself that this isn't something I can afford. I have to go on and pretend that the remainders of you don't still exist in the pictures on my phone and the small gifts and memories you gave me, and the stale feeling I have when I wake in the morning with the knowledge that you have been in every dream I've had for the past month. I want to feel better, because I would have wanted to at least try to stick it out until you came back. I wanted to drop you off at the airport and go visit you and be there at the gate when you came back. And I'd drive you home and you'd be jet-lagged, and although you wanted to stay awake from me, you would fall asleep in the car. I want to hate you for leaving and going to see the world, but in my heart, I know I can't. I know that it would be unfair of me, and holding on to those bitter feelings would only make things worse. It wasn't very long, but I found myself in love with you. Some would say that I'm romanticizing what was between us, but even then I know how I felt around you. I knew that your eyes and your smile made my heart race, and your stupid jokes and teasing made me laugh, and I couldn't help but smile when your arm went around me. And I remember that I turned down the radio when you fell asleep on our drive, even though they were my favorite songs. And I remember that I almost fell asleep on your shoulder during my favorite movie. And I didn't pay attention to my lectures because I was texting you. So, only in the interest of self-preservation, I let you go. I forced myself to stop thinking of you. I forced myself to stop dreaming of you. I forced myself to move on. And I forced myself to stop crying over you. Because that's what I have to do. That's what it takes to get over you.
Thank you for listening to The Love Story Behind. We hope you journal your heart open. I'm your host, Mingjie Zhai. For more intimate, artist-inspired interviews and journaling opportunities for you to journal your truth in fiction based on a true story, please go to thelovestory.org. Keep calm and journal on.